Madam President, today I rise to continue an effort to honor the memory of the 198 North Dakotans who died while serving our country in Vietnam. As I have said in the past, we are in a period of 13 years of recognition of those sacrifices of those Vietnam vets based on a proclamation signed by the President. And I think it's only appropriate that we recognize not only those who were killed in action, but also our living Vietnam vets who add so strongly to the fabric of our society and our culture. First, I want to recognize a Vietnam veteran who's making a difference each and every day, my good friend Rick Olig. He served in the United States Army in Vietnam. He spent over 20 years in the National Guard and over 30 years as a United States Postal Service letter carrier. He served on North Dakota's Administrative Committee on Veteran Affairs and as president of the North Dakota Veterans Coordinating Council. And today he drills a top-notch steak at the AMVETS. I also want to again thank the Bismarck High 11th graders and their teachers for helping me to research these fallen heroes and to reach out to their families. These students contacted the family of George Volker III as part of their project and shared their research with my office. I know that this experience for these students has enriched not only my efforts here, but enriched their lives as well. I want the family members, friends, and fellow veterans of the men I honor today to know that it's not easy to narrow down the facts of each man's life. In fact, I believe a book could be written about each. I am touched that so many family and friends have opened up to us to talk about their loved ones. We're going to start with George Colthart. George was from Hamilton. He was born June 5th, 1947. He served in the Army's 1st Cavalry Division. George was 21 years old when he died on April 28, 1969. He was the youngest of 6 children. His brother Raymond also served in the Army. In high school, Gerald participated in wrestling. After graduation, he attended Hanson Trade School in Fargo. Before leaving for Vietnam, Gerald shared a premonition with his sister Serena that he would not be alive the next time that they would be together. Despite this feeling, Gerald was glad to go, saying it was better him than a guy with kids and a family and a wife. Gerald's fellow soldier, Michael Matthews, recounted that Gerald died 6 weeks into his tour in Vietnam when Firebase Carolyn came under rocket attack. Stephen Echelberger. Stephen was from Fargo and was born September 26, 1946. He served in the Marine Corps 2nd Battalion, 26th Marines. Stephen died on May 16, 1967. He was 20 years old. He was one of 5 children. Stephen's brother, Richard, served in the Army. Stephen's siblings remember him teaching them about the real world, and they say Stephen was the best brother anyone could ask for. They appreciated his dedication to them, including attending their sporting events and even buying them a bike. In addition to his parents and siblings, Stephen left behind his wife, Janet, and 1 son, John. Francis Ed Geiger. Ed was from Dickinson. He was born December 23, 1936. He served in the Air Force as a pilot. Ed was 28 years old when he died on July 23, 1965. He was the 8th of 10 children. Only 3 of them are living today, Monica, Florence, and Leonard. Ed became an Air Force captain and a flight instructor who was very careful about deciding whether or not to certify other officers to fly. He was a stickler for the rules. Ed left behind his wife, Joan, and a daughter, Lynn. Faith was very important to Ed. While in Vietnam, he worked with the chaplain to provide daily Catholic Mass for those who wished to attend. 2 Air Force memorials honor Ed, Geiger Hall at the Minot Air Force Base, and a memorial wall at Colorado Springs Memorial Park for forward air controllers killed in action. Stefan Growth Jr. Stefan was from Enderlin. He was born January 12, 1945. He served in the Army's 4th Infantry Division. Stefan was 22 years old when he went missing July 12, 1967. In high school, Stefan was well-liked. He played golf and baseball. He attended both North Dakota State University and the State School of Science in Wapton before joining the service. His sister Kathy remembers how Stefan spent his last days before leaving for Vietnam visiting the people he loved. Kathy has always believed he was using this time to say goodbye. Throughout the years, people have left photos, letters, and other memorials at his grave in Enderlin. Melvin Lemke. Melvin was from Grand Forks, and he was born March 23, 1944. He served in the Army's 1st Cavalry Division. On December 11, 1968, Melvin died. He was 24 years old. Melvin was one of 4 boys, and 3 of them served in the military at the same time. One brother, Raymond, also served in the Army, and another brother, William, served in the Marine Corps. Melvin was an accomplished wrestler, earning 2nd at the state high school championship, and later making the wrestling team at the University of North Dakota. Melvin's brothers remember how he excelled in math and science, and he loved life. Melvin was survived by his wife, son, brothers, and parents. Thomas Narum. Thomas was from Amadon. He was born May 13, 1946. He served in the Army's 1st Division, Infantry Division. He was only 20 years old when he died on January 18, 1967. He was one of 11 children. His sister, closest in age, Margaret, remembers Thomas as a kind, gentle young man. She tells how he often scrubbed the floor in their home to help his mother. Thomas was such an important part of the sports teams in high school that after he fell off a scaffolding while working on the family's house, the school superintendent was upset that Thomas chose to have surgery for the chip bone in his arm and he wouldn't be able to play. Richard Orson. Richard was from Grafton. He was born July 19, 1947. He served in the Army's 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment. Richard died on March 27, 1968. He was 20 years old. Richard was the second of 4 children. His father served in the Army in World War II, and his older brother served in the North Dakota National Guard. Richard's sister Shirley remembers him as a well-respected young man. He was on the student council. In fact, he was president, and he was an outstanding athlete in track and football. He worked a part-time job after school, so in order to practice for track, he woke up every morning early and ran 4 miles around the family's section of land. Richard believed that he would eventually be drafted, so 1 year after college, he enlisted in the Army. At Richard's funeral, the church and the basement were both overflowing, with some people standing outside listening. Ronald Ronnie Stoltnow. Ronnie was from Hankinson and was born June 29, 1947. He served in the Army's 1st Infantry Division. Ronnie was 20 years old when he died November 7, 1967. His family and friends say he was respectful, loyal, humble, compassionate, friendly, hardworking, willing to learn, and spontaneous. Ronnie served as a medic in Vietnam. During an ambush, he was wounded, but he continued to give aid to his fellow soldiers until eventually he was shot and killed. His family believes his bravery, deep sense of duty to his country, and his compassion for others led Ronnie to become a fallen hero. George Tongan. George was from Walhalla and was born August 7, 1947. He served in the Army's 25th Infantry Division. George died May 21, 1968. He was 20 years old. George was the middle child of 7 children. 3 of George's brothers also served our country, Robert in the Marine Corps and Daniel and John in the Army. George's father wasn't able to finish high school, so he made sure his children understood the importance of education. George was the only child in their family that didn't earn a college degree because he chose to enlist in his sophomore year of college. George's siblings completed their college education, some earning master's and doctoral degrees. George's family remembers him as a bright, avid reader and music lover. He was a positive role model to the kids he encountered while working as a lifeguard and as a camp counselor. Richard Dick Trisky. Dick was from Fargo. He was born on January 3rd, 1949. He served in the Marine Corps' India Company, 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines. Dick was 19 years old when he died on June 2nd, 1968. Dick had 2 brothers and 2 sisters. Dick's siblings remember that Dick was a fun-loving person who could always enjoy making jokes. He loved boxing and fixing cars. Dick enlisted before graduating from high school. 3 of his friends also died while serving in Vietnam, 2 of them before Dick and 1 after. George Greg Volker III. Greg was from Fargo and was born October 24th, 1946. He served in the Army's 101st Airborne Division. Greg was 21 years old when he died on August 10th, 1968. Greg had a younger brother, Brian, and a younger sister, Vicki. Their parents ran a floral shop, and Greg was an important part of that flower business. While serving in Vietnam, he helped fellow soldiers send floral arrangements to their families on the holidays, and he made sure that moms were remembered on Mother's Day. Greg's plan after completing his service was to become a 3rd-generation florist in the family business. His family and friends remember Greg as being fun and full of love and kindness. Greg was his brother's Brian's best friend and confidant, and his sister's Vicky's teacher and protector. In talking with the Bismarck High students and my staff about their brother Greg, Vicky found that after all these long years of mourning, the loss of her big brother, this opportunity to share what a wonderful person he was allowed her to find some closure on a painful loss. Murray Viddler. Murray was from Canada, but he enlisted in Fargo. He was born on May 6, 1946. He served in the Marine Corps Mike Company, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. Murray died on December 19, 1967. He was 21 years old. Some of Murray's friends had served in Vietnam, which inspired Murray and another friend to enlist in the United States Marine Corps. When he went home on leave, he told his siblings of the friendships he had made in the United States service and how much he cared about the children of Vietnam. Gordon Windus. Gordon was from Mayville and was born March 2nd, 1932. He served in the Air Force 314th Tactical Airlift Wing. Gordon was 34 years old when he went missing on December 29, 1967. While missing, he was promoted to lieutenant colonel. He was one of 8 children. Gordon and all of his 4 brothers served our country in the military. Gordon has 4 children of his own, Kenny, Pam, Ronnie, and Ricky. His remains were recovered in 1990 and identified in 2000. He is buried here in Arlington National Cemetery. Dan Neuenschwander. Dan was from Fessenden. He was born October 3rd, 1945. He served in the Marine Corps' India Company, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. Dan died on May 15, 1968. He was only 22 years old. Dan was the youngest of 4 children. His oldest sister, Nedra, said that the family babied him and that he was a tough yet sensitive person. Nedra is proud of her brother and remembers that while he was studying at the University of North Dakota, he had mono, but fought to get a clean bill of health so he could enlist in the Marines. Shortly after Dan's death, his family received a letter he wrote describing why he believed in the Vietnam War. Norman Williams. Norman was from Maddock. He was born July 11, 1947. He served in the Army's 1st Cavalry Division. Norman was 20 years old when he died December 6, 1967. He was one of 4 children. 6 of Norman's uncles served in World War II. Norman's brother Roger said that in high school, Norman's friends called him Will or Willie. His active high school career included playing football and participating in FFA as a member of the crop judging team, a chapter officer, and a member of the parliamentary procedures team. Norman chose to enlist in the Army in 1966 to serve his country. All of these young men, as we think about the lives and the sacrifice, we can only imagine what they would have accomplished, what they would have done in our country. And we are so grateful for their sacrifice, and it is so important that we remember this sacrifice during this period of remembrance of the Vietnam War. Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor.